right, there's not a ton of news for the Dolphins, but there is some interesting nuggets that I'm going to get into. Now, we got a new body makeover by Tua. Some people talking about the tattoo, I think. Really, his change of weight, he's dropped a lot of weight, looking a lot more thin, a lot more athletic probably, definitely I'd say. So I want to get into that. Rob Everett was hired. He was an analytics guy for the Badgers. I want to get into that little thing. I think that's the most interesting for me. And then Laiatu, I hope I'm saying it right, Latu. You know who I'm talking about. I'm an idiot. But you know what I'm talking about. There's talk about maybe the Finns have him on the radar. Verse will probably go before the Dolphins, and he could be there. And the Dolphins love edge players, find huge value. And at 21, you want to get value. So I want to get into him a little bit. Okay, so this Friday, I'm going to do the live again. I have a viewer who's a computer guy, and he's a little bit of a math guy, a little statistician guy, and he put together this whole chart showing Tua how he performed with Teron, Hunt, and Connor. And I'm going to add in some of my blockers prepared stats. We're going to go over the information. It was very, very interesting. And I'm going to present the findings. He'll primary, and I'll be the second guy to present the findings there with whoever wants to join this week to go over those findings so we can kind of see how does Tua operate when the offensive line is at a certain level. And some people, might say, oh, it's the offensive line channel. Or, ever since I was a kid, offensive line, the trenches, the line of scrimmage was where it all started. If that was like in an okay state, then everything else after that was really on its own to perform, in a consistent basis. But in modern day, I guess, takes and stuff, it's all about skills, and the offensive line is just like an afterthought. But that's not how it works in real football. And so if this offensive line is not in its proper form, then some people are going to get the weight of that failure. And is that correct? I think what Scott did is showing some really clear stuff. And it will kind of show some things that receiver talent and offensive line talent, what brings the best out of Tua. So there's going to be no clear findings, but it's very interesting, and it'll offer some stuff, and we're going to try to tighten that up for you. So that'll be Friday night at 10 p.m. Come join us there. Any takes that you have, we'll try to answer or comment on or whatever. It doesn't have to be all agreement. I don't like that anyway. It's kind of boring. So that'll be Friday night. 9 p.m. Eastern, 10 my time, whatever my time is. I don't even know. It goes back and forth. It's UT something. Anyway, 9 p.m. Eastern. 9 p.m. Eastern. 9 p.m. Eastern. So that's it, guys. So we'll get into it. I want to say thanks for the likes, subscribes, comments, and views. All that stuff keeps me in business. Without it, Curtis doesn't do his thing. So I want to give you a shout out, and shout out to Ace Per Head, my sponsor. Out to you. This show ain't going down. Ace Per Head's betting software is the premier white label platform for bookies to manage their players and grow their sportsbook operation. Click the link in the description below to get set up in minutes. Ask for the Curtis promo and get a special introductory discount. All right, Thinner Tua. We heard that in the I guess burning the effigies of Flores, he didn't do anything right. He was a total moron. He wanted Tua to be thin and athletic, and then when Tua got injured, it was because he was trying to hurt him. Some people were saying, which I thought was ridiculous. And then he gained the weight, and that was supposed to be better. But really, what it came down to is Tua learning how to fall. It's clear. You can see just in the gross stats, missing games, 0. But then you could also, when you look at how he fell, this kid did a lot of training, took it to heart, utilized it. And once he learned how to fall, which is crazy that he didn't know up until that point, but just glad he learned, that the weight now became a deleterious effect for his skill set. And I want to get into why this loss of weight in short form, I like to get into a bigger long form, is so big for this kid. As long as he can keep holding to his fall techniques, and he doesn't get any nasty shots, as if this offensive line can hold up. If you go back and you look, I've been talking since 2020, that release is a major, major asset because it allows him, when the pressure comes in, to wait to that last second and then release it and then not take the hit. And he's learned, hey, you know what? I have to live to fight another day. He would hold it just a little bit too long. He learned how to protect himself. He learned how to fall. The quick release helps when he wants to throw it into the hole for those pocket posts and the quick throws and all this other stuff. But when you go back and watch him, if the thinner Tua is, the more mobile he'll be inside the pocket, navigating the interior, the quicker he'll be and more agile to the edge and the ability to get in the air and throw off balance with that quick release. He does that really well. Go back to 2020, there was some really nice plays of him on the move and getting that ball out in the air. And so the boots, the action is going to be big because we like to run that play action and then have him boot. And then last year it looked, he was better than prior years, but it's still, sometimes he was a little too slow. And this can help him get to that edge. It can help him with his ability to get in the air and throw. And also, you got to remember that, yeah, he's a quarterback, but he's moving a lot. There's a lot of pressure. Your heart rate's raised. It taxes your oxygen levels. And if you're in better shape and you're carrying less weight, your oxygen levels won't be as depleted, and this will help you as the game wears on. If it's one of those things where he's got a lot of movement going on, he gets a couple of runs off, it's not going to be big, but each little percent of all these things can help Tua out. Certainly, when he drops the weight, he's not going to be as protected. It looks like he's dropped maybe 15 pounds. Just my guess. He looks a lot thinner. Still has that thick lower body. So he's not like a toothpick or anything. But that's the only negative side. There's just so much good to this because of what we like to do. And that play action, when you get actual boots off that and you can get to that edge and you force that end to pause for a second, then you're slowing the backside pursuit, and that's going to help you play side. It helps you so many different ways. There's so many things to do. Not to mention Jonnu Smith. A lot of times we'd have our tight ends. They'd come in motion down to the opposite side of the screen, of the scrimmage, of the play side, and he would boot out with them, but the tight end was no threat. So that Jonnu coming back in that motion, counter side to the play side, and then getting into space and be able to find that zone for him to dump it off to, there's a lot of stuff that can go into here, and him being more mobile and him being more agile is, I think, a big, big piece of that. So I like the direction of this. Now, Laiatu Latu.
Latu. Barata.
It's the idiot hero. Can't remember what he's told to say, and he screws it up. So that's probably me right now. Anyway, this kid's a talent. But we got Phillips coming back, who's got some injuries. We got Chubb, who's got some injury history. Both are injured. And then you got this guy, Latu. He looks like a real talent, but he had his neck fused. And there's a lot to say about consistency. Anybody, the guy who's never been injured can be injured and it can come up. But I don't know. There's so many other players that I think that we should go and get. You've finally got Phillips to getting to the point where he's going to be. He's a free agent next year unless you put the tag on him. And I just think we need to go with him. You got Chubb, you got loads of money, and he's got injuries. Get a guy like a Van Ginkel who's a cheaper guy who can come in. He's a little bit of a lunch pail guy. He's got some talent and some pop, and he's consistent to work around this. I really am not big high on his pick. Some Dolphin fans I see are. That's not my flavor, and this is why. Not saying it could be great. It could be all world, but we have, I don't know, we've eaten a bag of black cats somewhere along the way because injuries are not our thing. You got injuries and you're going to get injured when you get here. It just doesn't seem to work out the other way where you're injured all the time. And maybe there's a guy or two, but for the most part, it doesn't. Now, Rob Everett He was a analytics guy, offensive assistant for the Badgers for like the last 2 years. 2018, he was working in Division III, and then he became, in that short period of time, he's now an assistant for the Dolphins, an offensive assistant. He's had experience on the defensive side, and I like this a lot. Not saying he's going to help out there, but it's just a voice. You know, with many advisors, you're assured of success is a very wise statement. Now, when you check here, it says he spent a few seasons as a defensive coordinator at Bridgewater College, D3, where he orchestrated the league's top defense in a number of categories. You know, it's D3, but still, wherever you're at, you want to succeed. You know, it's ping pong or whatever. So it's good to see there. Then he served as a tight ends coach and assistant defensive coordinator in Memphis for Memphis Alliance of American Football. So he's got a little experience there. And then before Tar Heel staff, Everett spent some time with higher echelon. This is the interesting part. And this is what I think the future of football strategy is about. I didn't believe in analytics just a short time ago. Didn't care. I just looked at stats, and then I just really wanted to see film. Old school. Just let me see the film. And there's a lot to that. Don't get me wrong. Film is primary, but there's no way that you could distill hundreds and thousands of hours of tape down and present it to somebody to consider, other than like, this is my opinion. So analytics is multiple stats trying to paint this picture of vast amounts of images and then create a point of consideration for somebody. So he worked with Higher Echelon, a training and consulting program where he worked on 3D simulation training, tackling analytics, and process efficiency. And this, to me, is very, very intriguing. Whether you like it or not, the NFL is moving everybody, every industry. I've seen a bunch of very powerful and smart people say that if in your industry, you're not employing AI in your industry, you're going to reach an inflection point where you're cast out. And whoever's done it in the early portion is going to have such a lead over you that you're going to be taken out. AI, analytics, data assimilation, and presentation. So he's going to be helping out with this and that, but he's going to take all this data and compile it and create it and then give this points of consideration for the staff. And that is huge. The 3D simulation training, I've always thought, listen, why can't a quarterback come in and instead of watching tape, he watches the tape and he comes in and he throws in a simulation and he helps work out just like a living video game. That would help with your instincts, taking those images, taking that action, turning it into a concerted conscious effort, into a subconscious instinctual movement. So this guy, Everett, I don't know how good he is at his job. He must be pretty good. But it shows that the Dolphins are seeing the future. And the future is, you could check this, some AI, I'm trying to get into this thing, where AI compiles all this information and you work with the AI, with the football data, and it's really unbelievable. I'm trying to get my hands into it. Just time hasn't allowed me, and then maybe I'm one of those guys that gets cut out. But I'm actually here trying to implement AI into what I do in many ways, not just to create funny images. So this guy, Everett, really puts a very interesting take, because there's a lot of teams. People don't like PFF, but there's teams, franchises that work with them and try to gain their data and get consideration from what they're thinking about and to work with that. And it's not just them. There's other things that are involved in this. It's not just PFF. This whole analytics, data information, and compiling stuff, huge amounts of images into these data points, and then using AI to create this thing that humans really, they have a hard time doing without analytics, just using film or not using AI. And it's not about, oh, well, analytics say I should do this now. It's not about that. It's always going to come down to the moment, because the analytics can never, your left guard, he sprained his ankle and he got his bell wrong. It's not enough to be a concussion, but, analytics says I'm supposed to run through that hole, but this guy's not feeling too hot. You got to make a decision. But if you understand certain things and things are in a certain environment, then you can utilize that. It's not about being robotic. That's not what this is about. Some people do that and they're stupid. Smart people use information as platforms for better decisions, but you've always got to take the external elements and then incorporate that in, because they can't be incorporated because it's all about prior information. Savvy? Anyway, I love this stuff. I would love to sit down with this guy and talk with him. I love the hit. I love the violence. I love all that stuff. But this other stuff is so intriguing, guys, and I'm glad he's here. I think it's not going to change things, but every little point, every little edge you can get, it could take you to where you want to go. And so this guy, I am very intrigued about him. I hope that some of these big, big cover guys, big guys in the media, they sit down with this guy and talk with him. I just think there's a lot here, a lot that if we could pull some of that back, we would get some great, interesting understanding of the game of football and where it's headed. Anyway, guys, I got excited. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Curtis saying, catch you next time. Be well. Go Fins. Oh, wait. Sorry. My daughter's Curtis out. Start building your own online sports book today by getting signed up with aceperhead.com service that'll allow you to book action on sports from all around the world.